I was about to say, he was the peacemaker of our friend group. I mean, anytime anybody had beef over somebody, over a girl or whatever, he would go over there and start talking to me. He's like, man, I think this guy's actually pretty cool. I don't think we should. I think we should become friends with this guy. Yeah. And lo and behold, we would somehow become friends with the dude, even though he's get with one of our other buddies' exes or whatever. But
Christine Walmsley is subpoenaing the hell out of him right now. She has filed a series of legal subpoenas targeting social media, technology, and marine service companies to investigate her son's final movements and communications surrounding his death. Now, social media and tech companies, as we know, she filed in Jackson County Chancery Court. The initial subpoenas target Meta, Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, Snap, Snapchat, WhatsApp, and the tracking app Life360 to secure GPS logs, messages, and deleted content. Marine and dispatch records. Additional subpoenas target marine services, including Seatow and Ward Marine, requesting dispatch logs, radio recordings, and communications tied to the July 4th incident. Now,
they recently posted this saying that the boys that were with Nolan Wells that day plan to sue Al Sharpton. However, when you click on the article in the link in their bio, you'll see that the article is actually about there being no reported drownings on Horn Island in the last 6 years. The last 6 years. And what's interesting about that is that in the interview that Nolan's so-called friend did with Officer Bad Bill, you know him, he said that he knows of people who have drowned on Horn Island. Well, who are they? And when was it? Because was it before your time? Did you know them or know of them? And what's even more interesting about them announcing that they sent some pre-suing letter to Al Sharpton is that it's coming directly after Nolan Wells' mom, Christine, has subpoenaed for all of the Seatow calls, including the call that canceled the Seatow call. But again, I'm sure TMZ is going to say that this is just a mistake.
the family's legal team is seeking clarity after reporting discrepancies in location tracking and concerns over wiped or deleted messages from his phone. So in layman's term, thank God we are going to find out what happened on those Seatow logs. We're going to get all the recorded calls. We're going to find out who's on it. I'd like to find out who that park ranger is. Can we subpoena the park ranger? Thank God for the team, the dream team as we're calling them, because now we are going to get some answers that they have not wanted to give us.
The autopsy is complete. Yep. There are reports that there is no cocaine in Nolan's system.
Guess who's about to lose it all?
Nolan was using cocaine during this period of time.
Shut the fuck up, Brandon, because he is spinning his wheels here, trying to convince Nancy that the boys were telling the truth. They let me see their videos on their phones. And that, of course, they wouldn't want to film themselves drinking. They all film themselves drinking. No, but they wouldn't upload it onto Snap. Here's why he just fucked up. The mother, one of the first days after this all happened, the mother said, we wanted his phone because he had snapped and we wanted to see the snaps that he had snapped. And the snaps were deleted. So she had seen his snaps. The whole point of Snapchat is that you are able to post things that maybe you don't want a record of, but at least everyone knew you were having fun. The stuff deletes. You know if someone screenshots it. So he had absolutely snapped. They wanted to go into his phone, into his account, because you can see your historic snaps, and those were gone.
We just saw the interview with Officer Race Batum Tatum and now the four boys, which is insane. So here, number one, here's how the MAGA effect works. They have to first become the victim and convince the whole world that they are the ones that are being victimized, right? Not so much. Now they're going to sue the world. They can't do a GoFundMe because that's not going to work. They have to do a Give, Send, Go because that's the only platform that will let people like this actually grift off their best friend's unaliving. It's them against the world. What do they think? They're Tupac? Not. They're no Pac. Now, they have that bogus-ass list of influencers and media and all these people trying to get justice for their best friend. They've raised $165K. That is not enough money by a long shot to sue like all 85 people they want to sue for defamation. By the way, you cannot sue for defamation until this process is completed and we actually know.
If your son goes out on a boat, especially with a group of black kids, and doesn't come back, but they all come back safely, and then those people lawyer up, they deactivate their social media accounts, and they say that your son did not bring his cell phone with them. You know, like, would that make sense to you? It doesn't. Logically, it doesn't make sense, right?
But
wait, did y'all hear what the Nolan's friends said about that audio call where everybody was saying we hear Nolan's in the background and they're talking about Nolan is dead and all of that?
Wouldn't you think that you would have seen Nolan on the bottom of on the floor or something, or scrambling around, or everybody in a small space on the boat looking at him or something? I mean, it's just so crazy to think that. Why would we call CETO if we have a dead body on the boat? I mean, why would we call the Coast Guard? You know, why would we do the things we did if we know we killed somebody?
I think people, regardless of...
Now, people are frying them because they're saying, y'all remember this is the same picture that they're talking about. Everybody was talking about that they see Nolan's foot right there. So they were saying in that same interview, they're like, well, wouldn't you see Nolan if he was there? All I know is this: somebody knows something, and somebody better say something.
I believe one took a polygraph, and from what was told to me, that they all passed.
Nancy, my clients have not taken a polygraph test.
I have the alleged text between Christine Wells and Warren Hudson. The gray is Christine, the blue is Warren. Warren, where is this car? At Jax's house. Where is that? Can you send me the address where you guys launched? Yes, ma'am. What time was the last time you guys saw him? 3 p.m. And then he puts an address. He posts the boat room. Then she says, what was he wearing? Warren states black shorts and sunglasses. Christine says, can you call Neva at DMR? Christine stated, thank you so much. We had to file a missing person report. So one more time, tell me exactly where you saw him last. I'm so sorry. I'm having you to repeat this. He states 3 p.m. west tip north side of Horn Island. She says, where did you guys launch from? He gives the address and says, we launched the boats yesterday evening and left from here this morning. Christine at 2:24 a.m. July 5th says Nolan's dad is at the house to pick up the key. She then texts at 1:02 p.m. and says, hey Warren, what kind of sunglasses was Nolan wearing yesterday? Warren says, I'm pretty sure Ray-Bans, Miss Christine. Warren texts her July 5th, 8:35 p.m. and says, hey Miss Christine, just wanted to check in. We went out this morning to look and I've been on and off the phone with Jackson County Sheriff's Office today. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. She says, thank you. She says that we are praying for your family, and she says we appreciate it. Christine texts and says, what is the make and model of your boats you guys were on? Warren then texts and says, Nolan went out on a 22 Triton offshore. I was on a 24 tide line on the way out. We were on separate boats. I went back on the Triton DMR, and the Sheriff's Office has all the information also. Christine then texts and says, hey Warren, can you collect all of Nolan's items left at Jack's house? July 20th at 8:51 a.m. Warren states that, good morning, Miss Christine. I just wanted to let you know that my family and I have been praying for you and your family. Nolan was one of the best friends since we were in 8th grade together. You and Mr. Elmore raised one of the best men I've ever met. I wish I could be there today, but I would never want to take the attention off of your family and Nolan and be a distraction. Thank you for being the best parents that Nolan could have. So you telling me this, Warren, you was on a 24 tide line that had no issues. Not to mention there's photos of there being 4 boats there. So you just decide to go and get on the fucking boat that's breaking? First off, why the fuck did any one of y'all never care a Sarah posted? He wants to say that they also show that Christine was asking Warren questions, that Warren is forthcoming about answering those questions. He wasn't avoiding her. He wasn't refusing to answer. He was also fucking lying because his bitch ass lied about what the fuck Nolan was wearing. I mean, it's in the text. I don't know how Never Care Sarah got the text messages, but I know one thing. Something smells fishy, and it ain't the fish on Horn Island.
Looks like all the money Warren Hudson's father raised is going to work. Trump's former lawyer, Edward Polzick, plans on serving Al Sharpton with a 19-page pre-suit demand letter, together with his colleague J. Tyler Cox. The intention is to restore Warren Hudson, Jay, and Morgan's good names. I'm not calling them their friends, because they're not. And y'all thought Reverend Al Sharpton wasn't going to respond? Reverend Al Sharpton said, I welcome the lawsuit and will have my attorneys to be in touch with theirs to arrange for them to serve me so we can get in court. Those sound like fighting words to me. Reverend Al Sharpton says he made it very clear that he did not know any of the boys' names, so how can he defame them? And that everybody has a right and a duty to raise questions in Nolan's unaliving. Honestly, I thought they would have served Ben Crump first. Now, speaking of serving, Christine Wansley, Nolan Wells' mother, well, baby, she's still digging. She has now filed subpoenas on behalf of Nolan's estate to collect all the original recordings that came from that boat that was allegedly sinking. It had Warren Hudson and a couple other people on it. She wants the original audio from Seatow Service International and another one called Ward Marine Services, which operates as Seatow South Mississippi. I know why Miss Wansley wants those recordings, because everybody is trying to defame Janetta Brantley's recording, trying to call it false. I'm curious to see how this plays out.
All of a sudden, a new witness have come forward, and what she had to say takes us back to the beginning. Remember, we talked about Katie in the beginning. This witness is bringing information that just may blow your mind. Let's talk about it. In the beginning of the Nolan Wells case, Warren sat down with Officer Tatum and stated that Nolan stayed back on the island with Katie. Then later on, more information came out stating that there was an altercation on the island, but the boys swore that that was not Nolan. Now we have a witness coming out and stating that she saw Nolan Wells get into an altercation over his phone on the island. He gave us an update regarding this. Take a look at this clip.
Publicly about this before, but I witnessed an altercation involving Nolan Wells from a boat nearby. What I saw has stayed with me, and I believe it's important information. I have provided or intend to provide my account to the appropriate investigators because Nolan's family deserves the truth. Out of respect for the ongoing investigation, I won't speculate beyond what I personally. On the boat near the area, I witnessed an altercation involving Nolan Wells and several other individuals. I saw what appeared to be an argument that escalated after there was a dispute involving Nolan's phone. I heard Nolan yelling for his phone to be returned. The argument continued after the group reached shore, and I observed a physical fight involving Nolan and multiple people. I also observed a young woman telling them to stop. At that point, I left the area because the situation had appeared to be getting worse. I did not remain long enough to witness what happened afterward. Everything beyond what I personally observed would be speculation, so I cannot honestly say what occurred after I left. She said she messaged one of the individuals that she saw, hey, I just want to say I was a passenger on another boat and I saw the argument between you guys and we'll go to the police with this information. I also have video footage. My husband doesn't show much, but it shows the argument that was taken and how you guys were upset at Nolan because of the young lady.
Or could this account be correct and accurate? That's what we need to find out. But remember, we had the attorney make a statement and say that someone saw Nolan Wells in an altercation at approximately 6 p.m. and that was after the boys had left. Now, the timeline on this altercation that the new witness is stating, or is this one of the witnesses? We don't know the timeline because she didn't give it in this quote unquote confession, I want to say. But nevertheless, they wanted to say Nolan Wells wasn't involved in that altercation. However, we had other statements come out and said Nolan Wells was involved and it was over the phone and it was regarding Katie. And all of a sudden, Katie disappeared. Now we have lion-ass Brandon Tatum sitting down with Nancy Grace, giving a whole different account. This man is going to hell with gasoline draws on. But listen to what he had to say on Nancy Grace yesterday.
Partier at Horn Island, that is significant. It could prove or disprove your friend's timeline.
Well, Nancy, everybody that I've talked to have a altercation was real, and also Katie, whom I saw her text messages, she didn't even say this altercation occurred. What I will say is that if I was an investigator in this investigation, I want to hear that. I want to be able to compare that information to other things that we may have or other witness statements, but I don't think it's significant because it doesn't show if Nolan Wells was actually killed in that altercation. She's claiming that there was an altercation there was a potential fight, but that doesn't get me to how did he drown? How did he get in the water, and how did he not recover and come home to his family? So I would take that into consideration. I would compare that to the other interviews that I've done, but I don't think it's significant whatsoever. However, I would be incredibly skeptical because there's no other statements that I've heard from anybody that comes even close to an altercation with Nolan Wells and others over a girl.
Now, we all know Officer Tatum is a big liar because he's going to hell with gasoline draws on. Okay. But either he's trying to save face, covering for the boys, or being paid to lie. We all know, or speculations is out there that he's in some type of arrangement because you see his bourbon sitting behind the attorney and all of that extra stuff. So we know he's tied into these people. But the clip I'm about to show you, this man just sat there and told Nancy Grace he never heard of it. But here is a clip of this man stating that someone DM'd him this very conversation that we just heard. And he didn't know the time. Then he started talking about 6 p.m. How you go from you don't know the time that they saw this, but it was at 6 p.m. in the end. This man, this whole case, this cover up is so unreal. But we all know why.
Received a DM from someone DMing another person. Now, I'm trying to leave these names out because I want to not mess this investigation up. I think law enforcement already have this. That alluded to the fact that, and I messaged this person because I want to talk directly to the person that I saw the DM from. And we haven't talked to this person yet. But the person said in the DM to another kid that is associated, not any of the kids that I interviewed to talk to, but that could be associated to some degree, that knew Nolan, that this person wrote a message saying, me and my husband saw you arguing with Nolan, and to the effect of you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. Now, the person did not say they saw a physical altercation. The person did not say what time they saw Nolan and this other person getting into an argument. Now, this is after Warren, their boat left. This may be somewhere around a little bit before 6. What I'm thinking at this point, with all that has been said, is that somebody knows exactly what happened to Nolan, or they saw him right before he died. I am not convinced that Nolan was just out there and drowned.
The unsurmountable amount of cover up in this case proves nothing but guilt surrounding those boys, in my opinion. This is absolutely ridiculous how they're stringing along these parents who just wants answers. The DA constantly trying to flip the script when she's unable to, because it always come back to backfire. She's debunked every time. No one should be above the law. This here shows us proof that these people think they're above the law, in my opinion. Nolan Wells' case needs justice. Drop down in the comments and let me know how you feel about this new witness that have come forward in the Nolan Wells case.
I believe young black men should be blameless, great reputation, doing what he's supposed to do in school, and not buying into the racist, ridiculous rhetoric. He had friends who were black. He had friends who were white. He went around this group, that group, no issues. The young man was beloved by everybody. That is an example of black excellence. But instead, they're not going to talk much about who he was and what he did and what he accomplished. It's about these white boys doing something. And now we've got so much.
Okay, that beautiful soul he was just speaking about is Nolan Wells. And I want to remind Tatum who created that beautiful soul. And that is Nolan's parents, who raised and loved and guided and taught and spent time with and was there. His parents were. They are the ones who created him. Who gave birth to him was Christine. And you keep attacking the family. You keep attacking the parents. And doing that, you are also promoting your whiskey brand, which is beyond disgusting. It is sickening. This family lost their child. And the fact that you have children and you can't even put yourself in their shoes, in their position, and not even have empathy and love, it is disgusting. And you are just proof of racism. You are just proof of the MAGA community. You are just proof how divided the United States and this world is. You are just proof of the separation, of the divide. And you keep attacking this family. And then you have her image with those texts and are trying to say, oh, look at these texts, how kind this boy is to Christine. Oh, really? Really? I read them as a guilty person. Allegedly, I read them as this person is feeling quite guilty. This is what I'm reading. This is the energy that I'm tapping into.
Speculation circulated online about who she was and what she may have witnessed. Her sister stepped forward to address it directly, stating that the two spoke only very briefly and that the family had fully cooperated with investigators. That clarification did not stop the speculation, but it is the factual record. At approximately 3 p.m., Nolan Wells was last seen alive. His location at that time was the west tip, north side of Horn Island. That place and that time became the fixed point around which every subsequent question in this investigation would orbit. Everything after 3 p.m. on July 4th is either disputed, unverified, or simply unknown. Between 4 o'clock and 4:30 p.m., the group began leaving the island. This is where the accounts split in a way that has never been fully reconciled. Warren Hudson stated publicly that Nolan made the decision to stay behind. He said the boat he was on began experiencing serious mechanical problems, that the situation was an emergency, and that Nolan chose to remain on the island rather than board the troubled vessel. He said Nolan was with a girl at the time and that the decision appeared to be his own. Traces Tin Shepard offered a similar account, telling reporters that Nolan stayed back because of a young woman he had met and become acquainted with on the island. But Javon Williams, another friend who was present that day, told a different story. And Nolan's parents, Christine and Elmore Wansley, pushed back firmly on the narrative that their son would voluntarily strand himself on a remote, uninhabited island. They described it as completely out of character. Sheriff John Ledbetter told ABC News that based on what witnesses told his office, Nolan chose to stay. His office presented that as the working explanation in the early days of the investigation. Then came the detail that stopped people cold. When the boats left Horn Island that afternoon, Nolan's phone and his keys were not with him. They left on the boat. They made it back to the mainland. Nolan did not. His family has asked the same question from the moment they learned that fact. What 18-year-old willingly stays alone on an uninhabited island with no phone, no keys, no way to call for help, and no guaranteed way home? Nobody has answered that yet. Around the same time the boats were preparing to leave Horn Island, a call was placed to Sea Tow, a private marine towing company that operates along the Gulf Coast. The time was approximately 4 p.m. on July 4th. The caller reported that the boat's bilge pump had stopped working and that the vessel was taking on water. It was a distress call. The kind of call that, out on open water miles from the mainland, carries real urgency. The dispatcher on the other end of the line asked a direct question about the people on board. The caller responded that there were approximately 7 passengers. When the dispatcher followed up specifically about whether everyone on board was safe, the caller said yes. Everyone was on board. That detail matters. At the moment that call was made, the person on that phone told a Sea Tow dispatcher that every passenger was accounted for. The dispatcher then contacted a sea tow captain to coordinate a response. Before assistance could be dispatched, a relative of the boat owner called in separately and reported that the group had resolved the mechanical issue on their own and no longer needed help. The tow was canceled. The boats made it back to the mainland without sea tow intervention. The recording of that distress call was later released by the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources. The moment it became public, it went viral. An independent audio engineer named Janetta Brantley applied audio enhancement techniques to isolate and clarify background sound within the recording. Her enhanced version circulated rapidly across social media platforms and became one of the most analyzed and debated pieces of evidence in the entire public conversation surrounding this case. Millions of people listened. Millions of people had opinions about what they heard. Ben Crump, the civil rights attorney representing the Wells family, did not rely on social media analysis. His legal team retained professional forensic audio specialists to conduct a formal, independent review of the complete sea tow recording. That review was still ongoing as further developments unfolded. Crump also retained ocean engineering experts for a separate but equally significant question. Nolan's last confirmed location was the west tip, north side of Horn Island at 3 p.m. His body was recovered near the northwestern tip of the island 2 days later. Given the tidal patterns in that section of the Gulf of Mexico, the movement of a body from one point to the other was not straightforward. Crump stated publicly that the oceanic math was not adding up. His team wanted to know, with expert precision, how that recovery location was even possible given the tides. Sheriff John Ledbetter urged patience. His office maintained they were working to establish facts through evidence and eyewitness accounts. But the questions around that 4 o'clock call were not going away. The boats returned to the mainland. The holiday weekend continued for most people along the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And Nolan Wells did not come home. By 11:07 that evening, Christine Wansley received a call that told her something was wrong. The details of what was said in that call have not